Hello and welcome to November's episode of Let's Talk Oregon. I'm Mike Ducett, the host, and on today's show we have two very different and special segments. In our first segment, we're going to be speaking with Hilari Cowan, who is a representative from the Oregon Ice Arena, who is going to be here today to kind of tell us about all the services that are available at the rink that you may not be aware of, along with boxing coach Ernest Spurlock from the Players Edge Gym and Fitness Center here at the rink as well. And then we're going to pivot in our second segment. We're going to speak with the business manager for the Oregon School District, Mr. Andy Weiland. So, welcome Hilari and Ernest to our first segment here today. Thank you for taking the time to join us and talk with us on this November afternoon. Thanks for being here. Hilari, kind of starting with you first. You are affiliated with the Oregon Ice Rink. Can you kind of just tell us all that is encompassed within that ice rink right now that a lot of people may not know about it, because it's certainly not just hockey. Isn't that correct?
That is so correct.
We've
been adding more and more opportunities for athletes to grow and enhance their sport. I'll have Ernest talk in a little bit more about he's a professional boxer, and has bringing more and more athletes in and training them and doing a fantastic job. We also offer, we have a chiropractor on Tuesday nights, Dr. Matt Hoof. He comes and gives adjustments there, has his table set up and has his own private office. And he is outstanding. He specializes in extremities, so for shoulder, knees, ankles, he adjusts all of them. He's excellent, and excellent with kids. My boys love him. We also have a trainer. His name is Connor. He is doing an awesome job. We have a morning adult class, 5 a.m. Most people kind of gasp when you say 5 a.m., but I get 2 days in one. That's how I feel. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. And it's kind of a boot camp and specialized in, some of the women have rolled ankles, and so he specifies his training to strengthen all the muscles around it and support. It's definitely a great workout. He's an extremely smart trainer, and I love going. It's great. He also trains kids between, I think, 10 to 17 right now, at 4 o'clock, Monday through Thursday. And then he has a little bit older class as well for 2 hours later on in the evenings as well. He's excellent. And then we also have a Sigma Q technology, which is a tub that's energy wrapped in sound. And so if you've ever had a TENS unit put on to help muscle stimulation if there's been injury, this is you hop in the tub and the frequency of electricity wrapped in sound goes through you, and it helps the motor neurons refire, and it helps your body heal so much faster. We brought it in because my husband and I both tried it, and he's had low back issues. It helped him for 4 months, no issues. And we're going to name drop a little bit. Patrick Kane, who used to play for the Blackhawks, broke his collarbone. It usually takes 12 weeks to recover. He was getting in the tub 5 days a week and was back on the ice in 6 weeks instead of 12. So it is very effective. There are only 4 open to the public in our country. There's one in LA, Denver, Chicago, and our little Oregon, Wisconsin. Wow. So if you want to help yourself recover as an athlete or as just a normal everyday human, definitely come check it out.
So let's just kind of recap here. So far you've said not only do we have obviously a hockey rink that is going to cater to our youth programs and our high school program, but now on the side we have a massage business in which you're involved in, correct? A chiropractor business that can come in on specific days of the week. You have the Sigma Q recovery tub, right, for special athletic injuries, plus a gym now that is specifically focused on athletic recovery, right, recovering performance, right? So all these services are currently enrolled and wrapped within that one specific building.
Correct.
Right, and that's amazing. And you said this Sigma Q technology is so specific that Oregon is, one of the probably smallest locations in the world to have one of these specific injury recovery tubs, which I think is really, really interesting. So,
Yes.
in your end of things, Hilary, you are a massage therapist, correct? And so, what kind of massage therapy services are you offering through the Oregon Ice Rink that is available to the public as well?
Well, I have been a massage therapist for over 19 years, and I love my profession. To me, it's very sacred work. It's not just fluffy massage, it's working with the human spirit, and that's an honor. I don't take lightly at all. I do Swedish, I do deep tissue, I integrate usually a little bit of Reiki and reflexology into every session I do. I also have cupping and gua sha, which is a Chinese medicine form of, it's scraping on the skin, but it draws blood flow, circulation, increases range of motion. It's very effective for injury as well. And cupping, my athletes love the cupping.
And so, well, Ernest, you're here as a professional boxer, but we'll get to your segment in a little bit. But let's talk about, perhaps maybe you could describe what this cupping is and what it does for you in terms of your recovery as an athlete as well. So go ahead and introduce yourself quick.
I'm Ernest Spurlock. I'm an amateur boxer out here in Madison. I am a boxing coach also, and I have been for about the past 5 years now. For me, because we're constantly doing rigorous training and we're always punching and we're always using our upper bodies, my shoulders and my pecs get really tight. And Hilary, I trust and believe and I absolutely trust her judgment, everything she's doing. But cupping is probably one of my favorite things that she does with me. And from what I understand, it stimulates blood circulation or blood flow to the damaged area, to the spot that's not receiving the circulation, so that it starts the healing process a little bit faster in some more acute areas. Half the time that she does it, I can't even tell that it's happening because I'm so far gone into the massage already that I usually wake up and I have like spots all over me. But I always feel so much better afterward. After a couple of days of rest too from the massage, I always feel like my performance is always much better. Like my reflexes are always much better. So my recovery is something that I do once every other week. So it's definitely part of my recovery and my training regimen all the time too.
Now, this cupping is specifically where you use actual mechanism or cup and kind of use air pressure to kind of grab onto a certain section of a muscle, or is that right? And then you can actually see the skin up in within the cup. I've seen it on TikTok. I know I've never experienced myself, but now I'm extremely intrigued. Although I'm not sure I'm a high performance athlete myself, but kind of intrigued on seeing how that works. And so again, I'm just floored by the fact that we have so many separate services that are being offered to the public here throughout this whole this place. And so, Ernest, you want to talk about your role with Players Edge Fitness and specifically the boxing. So how long has there been a boxing gym here in
we
Oregon?
just started the boxing program last year through my business, through Energy Never Stops LLC. Ben and I started speaking about doing some classes here, and we were working with one of the hockey teams that they had here, and then it's been taken off since then. So we just installed a ring, which was donated to us by a really good friend of ours, our mutual friend, Tim Nicolai, who used to run Omni Fight Club. So we've been able to do some more intense training and have some people who are actually interested in learning how to fight too come in and practice, as well as people who are just coming in and getting a good workout too. It's awesome having the space there. It's awesome having Connor and the other trainers there with their knowledge base also. And the program's been going really well.
And how young do you start at the gym for anybody that might be interested in this program?
So anywhere from 10 years old, I say up to 70. I mean, it's really good for anybody. So, and again, you don't necessarily have to want to compete in boxing to reap some of the benefits of it. So
awesome. And so within this program, do you have like a competitive team then for this gym that will go out and compete, or is it more just like the individualized training and just building muscle through the skills that one acquires in boxing?
We are absolutely building a boxing team as well, but again, it's for the people who are interested in doing amateur boxing or professional boxing, wherever they want to take their boxing careers to. But we have some advanced people, we have some beginner people. Everybody there is at different levels, and everybody kind of learns at different levels. But yes, we have a team that we're trying to build, and we're always looking for people who are interested in challenging themselves and who are interested in the sport.
So, Ernest, in this program that you have for boxing, like what kind of classes and times do you offer for someone who may be interested in joining up?
So we have a boxing, cardio, and conditioning class that we run on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. On Mondays and Wednesdays, that class runs at 5:30, and on Fridays, it's at 5 p.m. Then on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m., we have an intro or we have a skills-based class that people can come in. So if you've never learned boxing or you're interested in learning boxing, those are the classes that you want to come in and check out. We do a beginner level 6-week program. We also do a 12-week advanced level 6-week program for people who are interested in learning the sport. Otherwise, we have open gym on all of those days as well for people who are coming into the boxing class and they want to try boxing workouts. On Sundays, we also do sparring for those people who are actually interested in competing and who are looking to get fights.
Sure. Well, it sounds like a really, really interesting and very diverse and eclectic mix of services that, like I said before, I had no idea existed here in our little village of Oregon. So anything else, Hilari, that you'd like to add about the rink and any other services that we haven't mentioned already?
But you did forget to mention that we do have speed skating in the mornings as well, which is such an art form. And that is, I believe, Monday and Wednesday mornings at 6 a.m. And then I believe some weekends they pick up hours as well. So they are a great addition as well.
Okay, so speed skating training as well. And also you do have open skates available from time to time for the public as well, with for folks with kids to come on in and introduce them to the joys of the hockey world and the ice rink. So thank you for spending your time with us today, kind of talking about this. And I think if anyone is more interested in some more information about all these services available to you, we can visit the Oregon Ice Rink website. Is that correct?
Yep.
And find out the schedule for all the classes for the gym. I know maybe I'll try my hand at a little boxing. I'm not sure I could spar. I'm not sure I want anything coming at me, but I definitely know I could build some more strength. So thank you for taking the time to come on to our show today, and good luck to you both, and good luck to you, Ernest, on your journey as a boxing coach. So thanks for coming. Appreciate it. When we come back from our break, we're going to be here with Mr. Andy Weiland, who is our business manager for the Oregon School District. Thanks. Hello, and welcome back from the break. In our second segment here on Let's Talk Oregon, we're going to be speaking with Mr. Andrew Weiland, who is the business manager for the Oregon School District. So welcome to the show. Mr. Weiland, this is your first appearance, and probably not the last, I might imagine, as we continue to move forward. But thank you for coming to the show today. So do you want to take a minute just to kind of explain kind of your role as the business manager and what that encompasses for our viewers so they can better understand that?
You bet. So the business manager role is super diverse. It does a lot of different things. I like to tell people that basically anything dealing with money I'm somehow involved in. So the main role of the business manager is kind of to work with the budget. But then we do a lot of other things in the business office. I'm also responsible for some of our auxiliary services. So that's food service, transportation, buildings and grounds, any of the insurance components that we work with the school district I'm involved in. So again, anything that kind of has any value from a money perspective, somehow or another I'm talking to somebody about.
So you recently received some accolades, and I understand that in last March you were able to speak at the White House at a panel. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah. I was invited related to sustainability to talk a little bit about some things. Last year I was involved in talking to some colleagues in Wisconsin about sustainability and some of the things that we should be looking at for our buildings and trying to reduce our carbon footprint. And one of the people that attended that particular meeting thought I would be a good presenter at the White House to talk about sustainability. So there was a number of us that talked about things from all over the United States and kind of relationship to the Inflation Reduction Act, which is a large comprehensive piece of legislation that had a lot of incentives for schools, nonprofits, and even private homeowners to do things to reduce carbon emissions and become more green.
And so, speaking of kind of these green energy initiatives, we know Forest Edge is already a net zero school, correct? What other improvements have we been making that you kind of spoke of that have able to kind of make our buildings more energy efficient since even building Forest Edge?
Yeah, so we've done a couple different things related to lighting. We've been moving most of our buildings over to LEDs. There's a cost to that, and that's not specifically addressed in the Inflation Reduction Act. But the other thing that we have done is just this last winter we turned on a fairly large solar array at the Oregon Pool. So we're actually, we're just on the phone with the IRS today, actually, and we should be getting about a $70,000 payment credit related to that project, which is about $200,000 that we installed on the pool, and it's been operational since last December.
Right. Well, that's awesome, because that means less money spent on energy is more money better saved for better purposes in our school system and for teaching our students. So, we've had a recent election, and I know the state legislature makeup has shifted some. And so where are we sitting right now with any movement on the state legislature and school funding? Do we know what funding is going to be allocated for this year? Is that supposed to still be announced, or is it going to be status quo, or do you anticipate any changes?
Yeah, so when we talk about this year, we have to kind of be a little bit specific with that. So this particular school year, we're okay. We actually had a override that was passed in 2022 related to this school year. It's the last year of a 3-year override in the revenue limit that allowed us to basically spend a little bit more than $3 million more than what we were able to spend last year. So many people don't know in schools that our schools are really financed based on the number of students that we have. People get sometimes confused about, there's new homes, they're paying more property taxes, it goes to the schools. That must mean that they have more money to spend, and it really doesn't, actually. What it means is there are 2 main funding sources for the school district. One is general state aids, and the other one is the property tax. And based on how many students we have, we then get to spend the money that's allocated for us, and it's based on a prior year number with an adjustment. Until this last biennial budget, so the state has a 2-year budget process, and we are in the 2nd year of that budget. The last 4 years before that, we were not given any additional funds, which is what necessitated us to have to go to referendum. So we went to referendum to kind of play catch up so that we could, pay our staff members who otherwise were getting hurt by the amount of inflation and those types of things that were happening, as well as some additional needs here and there that we need to work with our students that were suffering from some of the impacts of the pandemic. And so we put those things into place, and we were able to basically fund those. So this last year, like I said before, is the last year of the referendum override. The Board of Education made a commitment to the community that they wouldn't use any excess capacity that the legislature provided them. But this biennium, they actually approved $325 more per student. Okay. So that was last year and this year. We've actually reserved that capacity because of that pledge that the board made, and so we haven't tapped into those funds, which would raise property taxes. And so they're still there, and they'll allow us to, we basically have that capacity now into the future that if we need to use it, we can. The $325 is kind of a unique story in and of itself. When the budget was approved, the governor did a veto, and the governor's veto pen is very powerful in the state of Wisconsin. So the governor's very powerful veto pen was able to extend the $325 actually for 400 years. And that's something that governors have done in the past. We have usually been the last time it was utilized the way it was used, we were on the bad side of that equation. We actually used to have an energy exemption, an energy efficiency exemption, where we could do projects and basically levy a tax so that we could improve things related to energy efficiency. Governor Walker actually did something that basically put that proposal or that law on hiatus, if you would, for I think, I could be wrong with this, but I think like 1,000 years. So the governor's pen has been used in a lot of different ways. This time we benefited that we have some certainty that we would have $325 each year. Now, what's important for people that work with money and stuff like that is $325 sounds like a lot of money per student, but on a percentage basis, it's actually in our district right around like 2%. So when we have cost of living increases, CPI going up 3.3, I think was announced today, it doesn't really even keep up with the cost of living. But it's better than zeros, which is what the legislature had given us the years prior.
So there's some promise, but not necessarily anticipating all the need we might have.
Right, and the other component of it is this year we actually did grow a little bit. So now growth comes with additional cost, but because of that growth, we had a little bit extra spending authority as well. Because like I said before, it's based on the number of students you have in the state of Wisconsin.
So this kind of segues into my next question for you then, right? So what is our current enrollment status? You said we've grown a little bit. What is that current number amongst all of our buildings?
Yeah, it's, I should have brought that for you, is right around 4,200 number. It's probably the largest our district has ever been by a slight amount. We've actually kind of bounced up and down a little bit over the last 4 years, but we're up a little bit more this year. When I talk about, we're basically funded based on the number of students, there are different components to that based on the different types of students we have. So it's a little goofy to explain to people, but basically if, we have students that come from other districts, and those are called open enrolled students. Our open enrollment number actually are net, meaning the amount of students that came in compared to the number of students that left, because we do have students that go to other districts too, actually increased fairly significantly. So our biggest funding increase this year was actually related to that net increasing by like 30 or 40 students. So we get around $9,000 to $10,000 per student for that, and that has an impact right away that first year. We also have resident students that live here and go to school here, and those students are 3-year average. There is a 3-year average, so there's kind of a smoothing component that happens. And so it takes a little while as we get growth to actually have that produce funds, but that's actually in the $13,000 to $14,000 amount of money that we get per student after with the 3-year average in place. So we have kind of two things happening. Both things happened in a positive direction for us this year. Is our net open enrollment went up, and then our resident growth actually happened as well. So it's important for us to have growth, though, because this is something that I've shared with the Board of Education. Our kindergarten, is in that kind of 250, 260, 270 range, but we graduated last year, I think, 310, 320.
So our classes get bigger as the years go on.
Yeah, they do, because generally we think that, people have to be more established maybe to...
Yeah, it's hard to buy a starter
buy a
home
house
in Oregon.
into
Yes,
Oregon,
correct,
absolutely. And we're not alone in that. The ring around Madison is very similar in that regard. But we get students that come in a little bit later, so then we have to grow and all those grade levels each summer just to basically hold steady. Because if we don't grow, the difference between kindergarten and high school, the graduates, is 70, 80 kids at least. You have to grow that much just to hold steady, and then to grow above that is what provides a little bit more funding.
Right, so it sounds like it's a kind of a managed growth, and it's
very well,
benefiting us.
It has
For a few years now.
And we had some projections a number of years ago, which said we were going to grow at an unbelievably pace. That hasn't happened. It's been more of a slower growth process, which is much easier to manage.
Right. There's probably been many market factors that have really helped determine that as well.
Market factors. The other thing that's we've attributed it to is actually the number of people having babies has actually decreased. The birth rate has significantly decreased. So when we did that study back then, the birth rate was kind of at a high, a peak, and it's actually kind of reduced since that point in time.
So we are now about, I think, a year out from our referendum, correct?
It's actually, we did it in 2022.
Oh, so 2 years out now.
Yeah,
Wow, the time has flown. So how has that, referendum made a positive difference for us here in the district and the lives of our students? What are some things that we're able to do now that we've had that referendum pass?
Well, the main focus of the referendum was actually to basically compensate our educators and our staff members throughout the district. So the main thing is that where other districts have lots of openings in different places, we've actually been pretty well staffed because we've been able to provide competitive salaries and be able to basically treat our staff members so that they can kind of keep up with inflation over the last 3 years. So that's been our main focus. There's been additional funds that were kind of added during the pandemic, that we added some additional people to help our students related to mental health and that type of thing. And we were able to sustain those because of the referendum too. But the majority of the focus of the referendum was really to increase compensation.
Okay. So it sounds like we are in good hands here financially, and that the district's financial health is really kind of a thumbs up. I know there are neighboring districts that's not the case. And a lot of them have recently been going to referendums and had referendum failed. So in your estimation, how is the overall general health of our district?
We're in a good spot. We're in a good spot. Like I said, we have some excess taxing capacity that we haven't used because the board's promised. We have that hopefully 325 that will go into the future. I will put a little asterisk on there. There is a case actually pending between the state Supreme Court that is looking at that 325 number. So we anticipate, knowing something like that hopefully by the spring of next year, so we can plan on it. We are going into the next biennial budget. There have been some small shifts, I would say, in the makeup of the state legislature that we hope will bring some flexibility to schools so that we can deal with it. As I said during the referendum, and I kind of stand behind it, although it probably hasn't proved out 100%, but there were over 120 or 130 school districts that went to referendum in November. And what I projected a couple years ago when we were getting ready to go to referendum is just about every school district in the state will have to go to referendum because of the way the legislature didn't provide any additional funding during the pandemic. So that is proving out. Actually, the number of schools that passed referendums a week ago was super high. I think it was in the 70 to 80% range to the state. So we're hoping that people agree with the voters in Oregon School District that see that schools need to be funded, and requiring them to go to referendum every so many years takes a lot of resources. It puts a lot of pressure on communities. And if the state legislature would simply fund schools the way they should be, then we could all focus on what we should be focusing on, which is the education of our students.
Right. Well put. Well, thanks for coming by today and joining us and explaining all the complex different factors that go into making up our school funding, and just kind of giving us a rundown on the general financial well-being of the district. So thanks for your time, Mr. Weiland.
You bet.
And we're going to see you next month here on Let's Talk Oregon. Thanks.